we meet someone at a bar. My friend's a little guy. Oh, yeah, this is Dave. He lost his dad in 9/11. I'm like, off the rip? Like, that's how we're getting into it? And then some people just like, oh, God. And they literally walked away before. I was like, is this too much? I'm like, all right, well, next. It's a dead center.
David Ferrugio, welcome to It's a Death Sentence. I'm Emma and this is Carrie, and it's wonderful to meet you via this link.
I prefer this link than any other link, so here we are. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, there you go. It's one of your favourite links. We are big fans of yours, and so we're really grateful to have you with us today. I don't know how you feel about talking to a pair of Brits for what is your evening? No, it's your morning, isn't it? Our evening.
Yeah, it's a morning right now. I just got back from the East Coast, so I'm not quite, I think, as big, not nearly as big as the gap of you and me are, but I'm still adjusting my timeline right now, so I don't know what's what. And now I'm talking to people across the pond, so whatever the hell is going on, I'm with it.
So we've got a selection of questions for you, and I also read the first chapter of your book last night, which I thoroughly enjoyed, so I thought we could talk about that also.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
So for the people who don't know your story, David, your life changed forever when your father died in the events of 9/11. Looking back now, how much do you think that loss has shaped the person you've become?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't even have to look back to understand how much it shaped my life. Of course, it's been 25 years, so there's a lot more to audit, if you will. But even from that moment, at 12 years old, when my dad died in the World Trade Center, I saw the footage for the first time. I knew everything already shifted. It's just hard. It's one of those things that's hard to ignore. I'm sure plenty of people can relate, outside of the people that personally are affected with 9/11, just certain losses, certain experiences. You just have that innate understanding, oh, the shit's not going to be the same ever again. But it's definitely shaped me in so many ways where I don't think we have a long enough podcast, but it's made me look at life a lot differently and honestly for the positive. And, as detrimental as that was to my life, I would trade all these lessons, all this woo-woo happiness type stuff for my dad and not to have that experience. But it really, this experience of grief taught me everything. I look at things in a different light with compassion and a different depth of understanding. Not saying it's anywhere near perfect. It's never going to be perfect, and it's totally new life since then. But the way I see life right now, I just see it so much. It's so multidimensional. I see so many layers to certain situations where I feel like it's made me more patient and loving, and just looking at this world in a different light, how it could change in a blink of an eye. So we've been on this episode for 5 minutes. I'm ready on a rant, so I'll cut myself off there in case you have other questions.
Do you think that you've come to be more positive? That's been a journey for you? Because I've been to the site of 9/11. I can't even imagine going through any of that trauma, and the site itself, where the memorial is and everything, is an absolute. It was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. Do you think it's been a journey for you to come through the grief to now be more positive? I'm assuming you didn't always feel like it was a positive thing.
Yeah, my journey it's been a lot of, not enough forgetting or defense mechanism where my brain just shut down, and a lot of my journey has had to be an unraveling as I got older and became a man since I was 12 years old that day in 2001. So a lot of the things I had to figure out, I asked my mom, like, Mom, what was I going through? Like, I remember things. It wasn't completely blacked out, but a lot of the stuff I just don't remember. So it's hard for me to pinpoint when or where that happened. But yeah, it definitely has been a journey of this experience, and this podcast for me personally has helped because I've talked to so many different people. I've had a lot of different perspectives. I just also think I was blessed to have the support of a family that, I don't want to say the word didn't dwell, because of course that's something that's always in us and we feel the pain, but my mom was always someone who was, okay, that happened and we're not going to forget it. We still have to process it. She left that door open for me to emotionally process even when I was shut down. But it was like, okay, what's next kind of thing? Like, in a what's next, not in a desensitized way, or what's next and like, what can we do now to continue to move forward type stuff. And so I think with that mentality, it just, I don't know. I just had this so strong woman in front of me, and that maybe shed the light on me of focusing on the positive, that we still have each other in this stuff, as corny as that sounds. It's just, I've seen so many things that have happened around me, and so much beauty come from it outside of my story. Like a lot of the conversations I had on this podcast, some people have gone through some unimaginable things that on paper, quote unquote, not that it's a hierarchy of what's worse, have really blossomed from some situations that just forced me to notice the beauty. Like I think when it comes to these crap situations, people think like we have to be sad and nothing else, or if you're happy, you can't be sad, when it's a conglomerate of both. Like I think you could be sad and happy at the same time. And that's kind of how I live my life sometimes. I just think it's important to look at these things, and you can laugh during a shitty time and go back to the sadness, and you can be sad and be, it's just like, I don't know. No one has this figured out. Like I wrote a damn book about it, and I'm not even saying I know what I'm talking about. Like it's just, we're just figuring it out.
In your first chapter, which I read yesterday in your book, Not Dead Yet, you talk about having a cosmic calling toward doing your podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Obviously, you know, we understand the premise, but you managed to turn something so profoundly awful into something really profoundly brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you know, did I say cosmic calling? I don't remember what the hell I wrote. That sounds pretty nice. So yeah,
it definitely says that. I circled it and everything.
Well, yeah, no, that really, I mean, I said that because it does resonate. I do remember, like, when people have asked me, when did you think you were going to do something like this? I, for whatever reason, I have this recollection of being in the teens, you know, thinking about what I was going to do for the rest of my life, because I feel like maybe it's just everywhere, but it was, I was kind of criticized for being indecisive. And that's something else I got into, is like, maybe I was indecisive, but now looking back at it, it's like, no, I just knew what I didn't want to do. Even though I didn't know what I wanted to do, I was kind of sifting out, realizing what I didn't want to do first, in a way where, like, that looks terrible. I don't want to do a 9 to 5. I don't want to, I was learning what I didn't want to do. I was kind of all over the place, but even deep down, maybe that cosmic feeling was, I knew I was going to be talking in some capacity. And then I didn't know what that meant. And then it was like, I felt like it was going to come back to my dad. And I kind of was like, let it go. But it was this weird thing, this feeling that I feel like was on my heart. And then fast forward many years later, I want to say 2018, 2019, I started thinking about it. And then 2020, I dropped the first episode. And it just felt like this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm not even what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to get better at it. I'm not saying I'm the best at it. I'm not even trying to be the best at it. I'm just trying to be authentically me and try to do something that feels good for me and hopefully to other people. But it does feel like sometimes I'm doing this and I'm not even doing it. And that's where the cosmic aspect comes in. I feel like I'm being carried through this stuff that I'm doing, and it's become something that just feels like I'm supposed to be doing it. And we'll see what happens. You know, things can change. A year from now, I'm like, oh, this sucks. I'm not doing this anymore. It's not going to happen. But I'm just kind of feel like I'm being guided through this entire weird process that is life.
So 25 years on, after losing your father, how does that, aside from the podcast, how does that affect you today in a personal way?
It just becomes weird. Like now 25 years later, I think about these little nuances to the experience. I remember I talked to my older sister, Jacqueline, and she was like, damn, it's going to be 25 years. And then just the enormity of the time that has passed, like outside of the grief and what we've gone through and this, that, and the other, it's just a bizarre noticing of little things of how much time has passed. And now it feels like a faded memory. And the hardest part for me today, with not having my dad for majority of my life at this point, you know, like 2/3 of my life, I haven't had my dad. That's just another nuance of just putting a title on something that just seems bizarre and absurd, is that I'm a man today and my dad only knew me as a boy. And that concept always freaks me out in a way. It's like, damn, I never got to know my dad in certain levels, but my dad never got to know me as a man. And now I miss out on the things that a lot of people can relate to, not having certain people in their life, like a different phase of your life, and having certain conversations that my dad couldn't have had with a boy at 12 years old or less. And
I think that's an interesting thing about grief, isn't it? Where when we lose somebody, we always say, I missed out on this person. I feel this. It's me, me, me. But actually, as we become older, we start to really reflect on what they've missed out on.
Yeah, no, and that's a thought that I feel like I've had over some time, especially this day. And you just reminded me, this is something I've been meaning to talk about. You might see a clip of this later, by the way. But yeah, it's just it's a bizarre thing when you flip it on that. I think the more time goes on, the more open I've been to processing whatever I'm feeling, being open to my feelings and considering different perspectives. It just opens up a different wave of emotions and perspectives that these type of thoughts come up that maybe would not have come up in the last 24 years.
Is there something that you think about sort of grieving the loss of a parent? Is there something you wish people understood about that for people who haven't lost a parent?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the thing that I try to accomplish in the show, one thing I've always settled on is not fortunately or unfortunately, I think fortunately we have to go through certain things to make certain realizations. And I've a big premise and underlying thing of how I've wanted to live my life, and even doing with what I'm doing with my work and what you're doing with this show is I want people to realize what they have before it's gone. And when it's the cliche, you don't know what you have till it's gone type shit. I think through stories and listening to these conversations that other people can't maybe necessarily relate to precisely, it is important to consider this, because once you consider what you may not have at one point, it makes you grateful for what you do have now. So it is partially what you just said, and that's kind of a big thing I'm trying to accomplish or consider. So it's not wish, it's just the nature of life. Like, yeah, that's just the way it works sometimes. Sometimes you got to get hit in the head to realize you had a head in some capacity, you know what I mean? So it's just the nature of how I think things go. But yeah, I think there are opportunities to learn through the power of story to just consider what it might be like without something that you currently have.
So your podcast obviously talks about death and in all forms. Was there a moment that you thought, like you said earlier, like a cosmic calling or whatever, that, I need to do something with my experience? Or did the podcast just evolve naturally? Was it just when you decided all the things you didn't want to do, did it just naturally come about? Have you got a background in that? Because when we started the podcast, it was basically from
Lots of
no
laughs.
experience
Yeah.
and no experience in podcasting or anything like that. So it was just basically from scratch.
Yeah, it was from scratch. I mean, this is the only podcast I've ever had. I've never done anything like it. I just kind of started it. And again, it just felt right, as opposed to, I don't know, maybe who knows, maybe it was a driving force of thinking I need to do something with this, or back to what I said when I was a teen, I just felt like I was going to do something based off this more than thinking I have to do something with it. And who knows if it just transmuted into this because deep down I wanted to do something with it. But there's just so many layers to it. Like, maybe I'm not answering your question head on, but it was these, like, I got a lot of attention from losing my dad on 9/11, which I'm sure perhaps other people can relate to via 9/11 and other experiences that were more public. Like, it wasn't my dad's name on the headlines per se, but I got those text messages. I still get those text messages every year, 25 years later, because everyone knows when my dad died. So part of me wanting to share other people's stories was to acknowledge other people's losses because they didn't get that attention. And that was just one of the many layers as to why I wanted to do what I did. But I think probably deep down there's a invisible cord of me wanting to turn this into something or just make meaning out of it and have more control of it, because I think when we have these events that happen to us, it's easy for an external force to define what it is. And when we do have more power than we think to define it for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Like us, you do a podcast about death. Do you ever find that you are surrounded by people you know, for example, and they might find it difficult to talk to you because you talk about death so much? If that was really long-winded, I'm really sorry. But my point is, when I've experienced the loss of both my parents, when Carrie experienced the loss of her brother, there's this thing, isn't there, where people either say a lot, say nothing at all. But when you start talking about it, it can actually make people quite uncomfortable, I've found. Maybe it's British, I don't know.
It might well be British. Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think it can go either way. I've had situations where it's come up and I've cracked a joke about it to break the tension. It either makes people more uncomfortable, like you said, or more comfortable, and that's kind of I feed off them. Sometimes if they feel uncomfortable, I try to make it more uncomfortable because I find that funny. But outside of that, you just got to read and react off people. But I think that's the nature of what we're all trying to, you and us are trying to do, is just normalize in some capacity. But there definitely is a friction for people that haven't experienced it and don't want to talk about it or feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, when they see how comfortable I am often, then it opens the floodgates of their curiosity because they've been yearning for a conversation like this or just interested in getting a perspective from someone who's gone through what we've gone through.
And do you find, let's say, your own personal friends and family, are they big advocates for what you do? Are they big supporters? Or do you find you get more engagement from people you don't know? So for us, we get a lot of engagement from complete strangers who are listening to the podcast. But I'd say maybe like 50-50 with our friendship groups. But we've got certainly some friends who obviously still find it incredibly difficult to A, listen to, or B, discuss with us. So how do you find that for you?
I think it's a little bit of both. The more I go back and I catch up with people I haven't seen in a while, I learned that a lot more people in my life are listening to the show than I thought, because I thought it was more, like kind of what you said, people in the audience that I don't know. But now I got bumped into some family friends that are like, oh my God, I love what you're talking about because I relate to this or that. So it's kind of both. I've been doing it for a long time now, and I have noticed just more people want to talk about it than you think. So it's a blend of people in my personal life. My mom and my sisters don't bring it up often. Like I think they're more kind of like, okay, this is what he does all the time. Maybe I don't bring it up. But occasionally my sister will bring up a post that I made, and then we start a conversation. But I think it's a blend of both. But overall, I just noticed there's so many more people that want to talk about this than even I thought, even though deep down I knew this was the case. But I think people just want to be heard. Like, I look in the comment section, I see some people just dropping a comment, sharing their story, whether they get acknowledgement or not. Some people just want to be voiced. And then I feel like me, I drop some stuff in the comments once in a while on other people's posts, but I usually don't go into it too much because I'm kind of used to talking about it. But I just wonder how much of that shows how much people want to talk about it. They're just willing just to write a paragraph of their experience into the ether online because they don't have anyone to talk about. So I think it's a blend of both for me.
I think for us, we found the title of our podcast, It's a Death Sentence. Sometimes people think, oh my God, that's going to be really heavy, sad, hard going, but actually ours is quite humorous, and we use humour quite a lot, especially dark humour, to cope. So has humour played a role in your grief and in your podcast?
In fact, in your first chapter, sorry to intervene there, it actually talks about your original idea was to just interview comedians, and then you sort of went in another direction. So yeah, we're fascinated by the use of humour to deal with, grief and loss, and we're actually pretty vulgar most of the time, and that really works for us. But not everyone can do that, but it's obviously something that's quite close to you.
Oh yeah, I mean, humor is everything for me. As you mentioned in the first chapter, later in the book, I literally have a whole chapter about humor and comedy and how it's worked for me, and not to push it on anyone else. It's not forcefully doing it. It's got to feel right. But humor has been it continues to be a massive coping mechanism for me, and I think it can be mistaken as, or accurately diagnosed, it can be a defense mechanism where I'm sure some people, maybe even me at one point, used it just to deflect, but I don't think so. I think it just diffuses. I think it gives you at least a moment of levity. I think that's why people like to go to comedy shows and just block out the world and have a laugh for an hour. Then you can get back to your bullshit and be miserable if you want, but at least for that brief moment, you get a laugh out of it. And it is like a momentary relief. And
yeah, it's a relief.
Even when you make certain jokes about certain things, I think it also does a weird effect of just rearranging the thought process of what just happens. And even it's just a relief. And I think it diffuses and it spreads it out a little bit, as opposed to this concentrated area of pain. It just gives you a momentary reprieve for the pain that we can get back to or that already exists. And for me, I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for humor. And obviously you have to be a little more calculated in what you say to certain people. I've made that mistake before, but I know when and where to make those comments, especially if it's on my trauma. I'm going to make the joke whenever I want because it's my shit.
You have to read the room, don't you? Not everybody's ready for the dark jokes. I was watching one of your podcasts actually about a guy you interviewed about 9/11, and he was saying like, yeah, I lost somebody in 9/11. I don't mind the 9/11 jokes. Mm-hmm. Like, if I wanted to laugh about it, that's, don't judge me. I know it's not for everybody, but, sort of making light of that really dark situation sometimes is the only thing you can do, isn't it?
Yeah. I just don't want to take it all too seriously. And obviously out of respect for others, you got to do that. But for me, I just try to another moment where I don't feel like making a joke, which is very rare. And I think it's been immeasurable to my coping. It doesn't mean you have to make this amazing joke. It's just at least the attempt at it, or just trying to make light of it. Yeah. Because everything's just so heavy in general. It's like it's constantly heavy. It's constantly a lot of emotion going on. So to me, it's just an easy opportunity.
I feel like when you make a joke, and we do regularly, it's not just relief for you and one other person. It can be like a collective relief that you can see is palpable in a room. So if you're holding space with people, and we go out and do events, and, I think about the one where we did the memorial tattoos, so all these people having these, you can see this kind of wave of who's going to crack a joke, because otherwise what we've got here is just deathly serious
and very sad
all the fucking time. And that's really, really hard. So they're almost like, it's like that feeling in a room and you just drop a joke and everybody see like they just relax. It's so important.
It's permission, I suppose, to be like happy at a sad time, to be both happy and sad.
It's exactly what you said earlier, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes with the humor too. It's the inflection, it's understanding the intent for the person making it kind of thing. So there's a lot of layers to the delivery of it can make a difference in many ways, because if you deliver it the wrong way, some people might get triggered. And I understand why. I get why some people might get triggered too if someone makes a quote unquote inappropriate joke, because they're just not there yet. So it's not like you have to rush to make jokes. Me in particular, if something's going down right now, I'll happily make a joke in the moment, because it's like, it just gives you a pause for a second. But I do understand why some people just aren't there yet. So it's not like rush to the microphone to make a joke at any point, but take your time with it.
Can you ever remember a time where you've, a brilliant joke has come to you and it's just not worked in the room? Has that ever happened to you? That moment where your heart sinks just slightly?
I can't really think of a specific moment. I just know there's been many times where I'm out at a bar or something like that. My friends know how open I am, so the 9/11 thing will come up way too quick sometimes. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, because like we meet someone at a bar, my friends are literally go, oh yeah, this is Dave, he lost his dad in 9/11. I'm like, off the rip, like, that's how we're getting into it. And then some people just like, oh God, and they've walked away. They've like literally walked away before. I was like, this is too much. I'm like, all right, well, next. So I can't think of like a specific moment, but there have been a lot of moments where it comes up. And even when people say, like, learn for the first time organically that I lost my dad in 9/11, they say, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'll just make a stupid comment like, it's okay, you didn't do it, or something like that. You didn't fly the plane in my dad's building. And people are like, eek. And some people are like, most people don't even like realize how to respond to that, because they can't tell if I'm being serious or not. But yeah, it's just, I've definitely had some awkward moments.
I think you get that stunned silence, don't you, from some people where you say something that you're quite comfortable with, and their response is kind of,
I'm not sure how to react to that.
Slightly wide eyes and looking a little bit uncomfortable. And at that point, you've got to move on, really, haven't you?
I do think the humour can open up conversations about death. I mean, I work in death all day long. I do postmortems for a living. I see death, and death can be funny. There can be some really funny things. But like you said, you have to read your room and make sure that they are the right audience.
How do you read your room? Well, quite a quiet fucking audience, I reckon.
That's hilarious.
So there are still many theories and unanswered questions surrounding the World Trade Center. We've gone a bit serious now. We've come straight out the jokes. Having been personally affected, what do you believe really happened, and how do you balance seeking answers with accepting uncertainty? What a long question. But again, I've watched a couple of podcasts. I know that you talk about this fairly openly as a person can. Would you just share with us your personal feelings on reflection now about what happened then?
The short answer, again, is that obviously without certainty, I believe there's a high chance that it was a false flag operation in order to rally everyone behind them to give an excuse to go to war and make money and have hidden agendas.
What a concise way of putting it.
Yeah, that's the short answer. I think there was just, we've been lied to. If we get all the information, it'll probably be 30 years from now, and then it's just a moot point. And then, yeah, long story short, I think there wasn't, I don't know who did what, whether it was just a turn to a blind eye or this, that, and the other. I'm not even saying it was one sector or this that did it. I just think it was way deeper than we think. And I think a lot of people can't really fathom the idea that it would be intentional in order for another thing to happen. Like, some people could just be like, yeah, it was just evil and they wanted to kill people and that's it. It's like, no, I think it led to a 20-year war that was BS, and there was a lot of money that was made, and it was just an excuse to go to war. Like, there's been false flag attempts in the past. I'm pretty sure Operation Northwoods, which is a declassified CIA real existing document that was proposed to JFK in like the 1960s to create a false flag event, blame it on Cuba, and then with that blame, now we have an excuse for a country just lost you.
Was there ever a point where you sort of had to sort of let that go so it didn't consume you? Because that would drive me potty. Like, I'd be thinking about it all the time.
Yeah, I still think about it. I think I just thought about it so much that it's just like, what do you do? I mean, my path right now isn't to uncover the truth, even though I've made some efforts here or there, but it's just, I'm just focused on what I'm doing. And unfortunately, it's just like the nature of the world, and not in a cop out, but it's this type of stuff, these theories and what the world has done with similar situations is historically accurate. I mean, like if you look back in history, these things have happened for so long, maybe not to the capacity of and the grandeur of 9/11, but I've gone down the rabbit hole like, oh no, this has just been the nature of history. And now we have so much information to see more. We just have more information to uncover more things.
When there's something so much bigger at play.
It's so much bigger at play. And, I can get frustrated and angry because my dad was a part of it and that's part of it too. But it's like, I don't know. Again, all these conversations that I've had, it's like, this is just part of it. This is the ride we're on. And I just believe there's going to be a point where, assuming everything still continues on, which I believe is like, we're going to look back, I'm going to be able to look back in this non-human body. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Even as horrible as it was, like this all makes sense. So yeah, it's definitely something to let go.
You mentioned, maybe in 20, 30 years, we might start to get some real truths about this. I'm just not even convinced about that. I think what we'll get is a collection of people's opinions, a collection of scholars' opinions, a collection of historians' opinions, whatever it's going to be. But will we ever, have the facts? As with all great big things in history, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, we're already getting that stuff. A lot of people have spoken out, and there's some significant evidence and information out there that makes it seem like there's just been a lot of bullshit out there. I think that's pretty clear. I think most people agree we haven't been told the entire truth. And even 25 years later, we're already 25 years later, which is crazy that we're still trying to get more documents released that we haven't gotten revealed to us. So I think it's just going to be similar to like a JFK thing, like I mentioned, where if even 50 years later, we're getting more information or trying to get more information, still haven't gotten the whole truth. And it's like, okay, well, just innately, when someone's trying to cover up tracks or doesn't give you the full information, how it's hard not to think what you're hiding.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can we talk about your book?
If you want to.
Yeah. Do you want to?
I guess I was supposed to, but I'm like the worst book marketer of all time, so...
Well, will it help if I read you some quotes that I liked, and then you can comment on those?
Yeah, please.
Wait a minute, old woman glasses need to come out.
There you go.
So I loved this. Death is a universal commonality. It binds us even when it separates us. And I also believe in a strange way it frees us. So I really, really resonated with that when I was reading it last night, because actually the acceptance of the inevitable is the most freeing thing that can ever happen, right?
I agree.
And is that what is that how you felt about it when you wrote that?
Yeah, I mean, I think with a lot of the things I talk about in the book, or a part of it is this illusion of control, and we have to have the control about certain outcomes, because without control, we feel out of whack, and with not being out of whack, we don't feel safe. So I feel like this idea of control relates to this idea of security, and I've just seen too many people and I've had too many plans in my life that go awry. So it is this illusion of control. And then once you let go of that and accept the inevitable in some capacity, and as it relates to death, it's freeing, because it's just like one less thing on your shoulders to let go of. And it's much easier said than done. But specifically with death, it's like, that's what's more certain to that. I've said it all the time. Like they say death and taxes, and some people don't even pay taxes. So we're left with the only certainty in life. And so there is a part of just accepting, and yeah, there's more that comes with that. And it's like, how is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Who's going to die? And I think it just zooms me back in to be like, okay, yeah, I don't know this, I don't know that, but what is the one thing I can control if I'm looking for some sort of control? And that is how I respond to things, how I perceive things, my perception, my accepting of things. And even I can control that notion, but whatever comes from that is just que sera, sera. And I think there is a release when we can come to a piece of acceptance and just understanding that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you talk about your family so warmly and so honestly. Obviously, I've only read that first chapter that's available at the moment, but particularly, so I lost my mother 11 years ago and we were super close. She was incredible. So whenever I read somebody who's really championing their own mom, I'm always, personally extremely pleased to hear it. But I loved this, where you're quoting your mother here. This is episode 110 for anybody that wants to listen on Dead Talks. You carried your father's love with you through everything you did. You didn't see it, but I saw it. I thought that was absolutely beautiful. And you reference her and sister, an older sister, is it? Jacqueline?
I have two older sisters, yeah, Gina and Jacqueline.
So you've obviously had that quite unique support in a very unique position. You talk about the women in your life being quite strong characters, particularly your mom having to carry a lot of that load to make sure you and your siblings are okay. Do we hear more about that in the book?
Yeah, there's more that comes in. They're referencing our experiences, and it's not like a biography of all the nuances throughout it, but yeah, it definitely comes up because they were such an important part outside of just being there as my family. I was in a unique position where which is bizarre to me to say unique, where I had all this support, because I just feel like I'm so used to just have like that just being an automatic thing, and I understand people don't have that, and so I'm very blessed to have this camaraderie with my sisters and my mom. And again, I was the uniqueness of it, or at least to me, just these little positions and timing and where we are just makes such a big difference, for better or for worse. But I was the young boy of the family. I was the baby boy, and I lost my dad, so I'm the only man in the family. So I was raised by women, and just the nuance of being raised by women to me was so important, because it was just, I didn't have a father figure per se with my dad still being around, but I had 3 strong women who are often more emotionally connected in many ways. And as someone who grew up just leaving a lot of stuff inside, I got to look to 3 women. And I think the feminine perspective is so important in any aspect of our life. But to go through an experience like that with 3 strong women made me even more of a man today, ironically.
That's lovely. And we are very pro-woman, and we're mums, and we totally get on board with that. What do you hope your readers take from the book? Because the first chapter is very intriguing.
But the book's not out until November, is that right? I have ordered my copy.
Appreciate that. It drops on September 8th, 2026, so a couple days before the 25th anniversary of 9/11.
Ah, okay. I thought it said on Amazon. Maybe is it UK? Is there a different date for the UK? I thought it said November.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll check on my publisher, because that's a long time. Maybe I wonder. I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe I apologize for that.
No, that's all right. So what do you think? What do you hope your readers will take from it?
I just hope that my readers just consider a new perspective, and it doesn't have to be my perspective. I just hope this book gets people thinking and consider new perspectives. Like, one of the examples that I wrote about was kind of calling it a grief recipe, if you will. And I liken it to when you get a recipe, when you're trying to make a meal from someone else who's made the meal before, or someone has gone through it. It's like, yeah, this recipe resonates with me. They tell me like this is the way to do it, but maybe I like it exactly as I was given. Maybe, my book, for example, is one recipe, but I like a little more salt. I don't like meat. I like vegetarian. So I'm going to mix it up and create my own recipe from this other foundation. So I'm just hoping the book offers a sense of foundation that worked for me. And I share a lot of stories from the podcast and other people's recipes, if you will. And you can still create your own. Like, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying. You don't have to take my way or the highway. That's one thing I'm really not trying to do. I'm not trying to explain this is the answer. I just hope it offers people listening that may find this topic interesting for their own personal experience, and not to create their own recipe, and just consider new things and consider new opportunities and think of something that I didn't even write about, because now you're considering new perspectives. So I just hope it shares some opportunity of understanding, of being seen, but also to keep an open mind throughout the book, because it is all over the place from my perspective and other people's perspectives, from beliefs, from what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And I just hope it offers an opportunity for people to think a little bit differently through whatever they're going through.
After all the conversations you've had through Dead Talks and everything you've experienced yourself, has your relationship with death changed? Are you less afraid of it now, or has it simply become a different kind of mystery?
It's a little bit of both. It's definitely become a different kind of mystery, in that I feel like I've opened my mind to totally different theories and beliefs out there. And, it's narrowed my belief, but also the narrower my belief becomes, I realize there's even more that I don't know. But it's definitely kind of taken relief off my shoulders to know. And that's a lot of the thing I talk about on the podcast, little in the book, is this idea of diving into the unknown and being comfortable there. And not everything needs an answer. And sometimes just the seeking and the open-mindedness is part of the answer. And I think all these conversations just have, again, created this different perspective of, oh, wow, I never really considered that. Having near-death experiences on, of course, some people are charlatans, so I got to take it with a grain of salt. But nevertheless, it just made me consider these totally different thought processes of what may come after, and not to harp on that, but just to kind of keep it apart in the back of my brain for when I need it, or just keep it as part of the underlying factor of how I think. And it's just made me a little bit more relaxed in many ways, that, yeah, we don't know, and I can sit in the unknown, and it's fine that if I don't know, but it's just made me really take this path of life, that not that everything's perfectly written. I think it's a perfect blend of destiny and also free will, where I just trust that whatever's coming next, I do believe there is something that comes next, that we do continue on. And I just think it's going to be okay. And it's one of those things like when you get a terrible example, you get a tummy ache or you got like a really bad pain in your stomach and you've had this before and you're like, oh, this might suck for the next couple hours, but I know at some point there's going to be a relief and it's going to be okay. And that's kind of how I feel. I feel like sometimes life is one big tummy ache and then I just feel like this tummy ache's going to end. And after that, it's going to be this reprieve and this understanding and enlightenment that it's just fine. And not that it makes everything we're going through here not a big deal, because I think it is, especially when we're going through it. This all matters. But when it's all said and done, I think we're just going to look back and be like, oh, okay, this all made sense. It's fine. Like it wasn't as big. It's not a big deal from this side of things. But in the meantime, while we're on this side, it has to be a big deal. It has to mean something. And again, that's just what I believe. And we're just going to find out regardless. Here we go.
Can you remember one of the funniest things that grief has ever made you do?
Funniest? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess we mean in the sense of like, has it ever made you do something particularly strange that you look back on and think, oh, well, I can't believe I did that, but it'll probably be the grief talking or the grief
Out of
acting.
character, maybe.
I mean, I don't know if this is the right answer or if I'm answering the question, but I mean, when I was younger, I used to watch the footage all the time. I used to be psychotically obsessed with watching the footage over and over again. And that's one of the unique things about my experience or the people's experience at 9/11 is that at any moment I can just watch my dad's death on video, on camera, which is a weird thing to have access to and constantly be berated by it for 25 years. And that's one thing that I think looking back and even at the time thinking it was strange. Like I get why I did it because I think I was just trying to feel emotion. But at the time, constantly looking at it, I was like, is this psychotic? Like, what is this healthy that I'm as a teenager constantly watching this footage over and over again? Like, that's kind of bizarre. But I know so many people that don't do. I know people that have done that because I've asked other 9/11 people, but also most people, even my family, I think they try to avoid it. You have to ask them. I know my mom hasn't really seen it many times. But to me, that was a little bizarre to constantly choose to watch the footage as if I was seeking answers. But at the end of the day, now looking back, I think it helped me come to a place of acceptance and facing it and not running away from it and allowing the emotion to come out. So that form of exposure therapy at first seemed a little psychotic, but in the long run, I think it worked out.
I think it's like a morbid curiosity, isn't it? It's like a car crash. We don't want to see it happen, but we can't help but look because we want to, like, there's something in us that, like, that sort of innate curiosity makes you think, I want to see how it happened. I definitely have got that.
Is that how you ended up in this job?
Yeah, that's why I do what I do. I need to know, I need to see, I need to, and I see all sorts of deaths and like, there's nothing really that I'd be like, oh, I don't want to look at that. I'd be like, I'm really interested to know. But I suppose for you, like, we've just done an episode on this actually about the grief of a nation. So it was such a massive thing, 9/11, and everybody, the whole nation, the whole of America was grieving. Everywhere was grieving for everybody that was lost, and they were in total shock. But you were grieving one man, your dad, and, that in itself, how did you cope with that? Being everywhere, it's almost like it was not just your grief, it was everybody's grief.
Yeah, I think it's just a pendulum because, you go one way and you're looking at it and say, oh, this is amazing, the support and the camaraderie and the way that everyone's coming together to support the community for everywhere from this globally, nationally to like my circle of people in my life. I think that's the beautiful part about it. But then sometimes it becomes on the other side of the pendulum a little overbearing because it is an individual experience. And even with all the support, it kind of feel isolating because regardless of what's going outside of me, it's still me versus me. And I'm sure my mom can relate to her personal experience of having to go through what she's feeling. And even with the support, it still is isolating. And so it's a contradictory experiencing of two sides of the pendulum where it's so individual yet so inclusive. And then at some point you're like, okay, it's like almost become too inclusive where I just want my own, I don't want my dad to be part of just a statistic in many ways. But then again, it's just a yin and yang of kind of being grateful for both sides because I think you need both. But it's definitely a bizarre experience to have it be so public and in your face and acknowledged when sometimes, I think some people want the attention because no one's giving them attention. I'm blessed to have the attention because I have the support, but then it becomes overbearing at the same time. So I think it's just an awareness, an understanding, giving it a nod. Okay, this is just the way it is. And what am I going to do with it? And it just becomes a balancing act.
Carrie and I are massive, massive advocates for planning your own funeral. So you will know to some degree the death admin is absolutely fucking horrendous for everybody. You're dealing with really heavy duty administrative tasks at a time where we should be, at least being able to grieve if we can at that time. So I've planned my own funeral. I know exactly what I want to happen. I want to know what, is going to happen to my body. I've donated mine to the local university hospital. What about you? Have you made your own plans?
That's the thing. Ironically, as a death guy, I have not. And it's something that I would like to make suggestions, because I'm going to be dead. I don't care what you do. It's just as long as it's healing for you, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be wherever I'm going to be, dead. And so the people that are grieving or left on earth are the ones that got to cope. So for me, it's less important. It's about what's done as it is to make a suggestion that's going to be helpful to you. Because for me personally, I want to roast. I want people making fun of me, like literally a roast, as if I'm on stage on Netflix and people are just doing it over my dead body instead of sitting in the chair comfortably to the left. But part of me is like, is that going to be good for y'all? Like, is my mom going to be good with that? I want people to be sad. I want people to cry. I want people to be smiling and celebrating. But at the same time, it's like, that's my suggestion. But are you guys good with that? Is that how you guys are going to want to do it? Because you guys are left with me and I'm gone. So I want it to be conscious of, this is what I want. But at the same time, I want to make sure y'all do what is comfortable for you guys too. Because at the end of the day, the living are the ones left with the dead.
Maybe you could have your roast as part of your wake, like after the sad bit, and then you can just get roasted afterwards.
Instead of putting me in a coffin, I was like, why don't you just sit me upright in a chair?
Like pipe and slippers.
Yeah, just put me in a Nick jersey and just have me sitting up there with sunglasses and a Weekend at Bernie me.
Well, I was about to say Weekend at Bernie's. You beat me to it.
Yeah, there we go.
Do you want to end on our question?
So one of the questions we ask everyone we interview is, if you could find out when you were going to die, would you want to know when it was going to be?
Nah, not really, no. It is an interesting thought. It would be very interesting to know, and I'm more curious about what would change if I did know. But nah, I think just let it happen when it happens. I just don't think we're supposed to know those type of things. Whatever supposed to means, that's another word that I've written about. I think just let it ride and just let me be aware of the fact that could happen at any point and let me act accordingly. But at the same time, nah, I don't think I need to know. I think that'll rush certain things that don't need to be rushed, and it could be for better because I know how much time I have. But nah, let's just let the shit end when it's supposed to end, however it ends. I don't want to know. Do you guys want to know?
Well, actually, interestingly, aren't you a yes and I'm a definite no?
I'd quite like to know. Just so I can get all the places I want to go on holiday in, go back to America about 1 million more times,
I think you
conquer the world, whatever.
What if ironically they tell you, you're going to die on a flight to
America,
the United States?
Yeah. I'd be like, which one? Which flight, and how many more times can I go before then?
You could be that person that tries to avoid it.
Yeah.
Like death is chasing you around and you're like, nah, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
Final destination.
I love it. David, thank you so much for being with us, for us tonight, for you this morning.
Yeah, it's been lovely.
It really has been lovely. I wonder whether you'd be willing to talk to us again maybe next year, and we could catch up after your book release, perhaps.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I would love that. Let's definitely stay in touch.
Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning into It's a Death Sentence. Please keep listening to our weekly episodes.
And if you like our show, please like, share and subscribe.
We are dying to talk to you.